Thank you, Acting Speaker. A delight once again to see you in the chair this afternoon. Acting Speaker, this bill is Labor's attempt again to patch over the mess that they've made themselves when they weakened Victoria's bail laws in 2023. And we've heard many contributions on this side so far, and there are many more to come looking at the speaking list, that talk about the weakening that had a predictable and devastating consequence of repeat serious offending. The government has promised the toughest bail laws in the country, and I've said repeatedly that we just want the best bail laws in the country so that our communities feel safe. What's in front of us today is not even as tough as laws that existed pre-March 2024. So instead of delivering real protection for the community, Labor has cherry-picked 6 serious offences for a new high degree of probability test, while quietly giving a free pass to dozens of other indictable offences, some of which, and we heard the member for Malvern talk about, some of which that could be linked to organised crime. You know, under Labor's bill, handling stolen goods, no tougher bail test. Dealing with the proceeds of crime, no tougher bail test. Large-scale drug possession, drug trafficking, no tougher bail test. So, and for minors, and we know that youth crime, and I've heard from the other side today, the member for Ripon during her contribution indicated that the crime rate has not escalated, it's just a perception. Well, I want to give you a few indicators around what the crime rate has done in my local community of Mildura, Acting Speaker. And I just Googled a few of the crime stats. In the year ending March 2025, Mildura recorded 11,042 criminal incidents per 100,000 people, which makes it among the highest in regional Victoria, nearly 5% higher than the previous year. That's an increase. Local crime trends are stark. Break-ins are nearly 150% higher than the Victorian average. Motor vehicle theft is around 70% higher. And this includes motor vehicles from farms, and we've seen farm crime, on-farm crime, really escalate in the past few months. And violent crime stands at almost double what it was a year ago. Family violence breaches too in Mildura have reached a 10-year high, which is just an absolute scourge, and it's very obvious that that is a passion point in finding ways that we can bring that down. But at the moment in Mildura, an incident occurs every 4 hours, which deeply affects women's safety, it affects children's safety, and it is just, there just doesn't seem to be any acknowledgement. These numbers, they're not abstractions. These are our neighbours and our families and our friends. So is there anything in this that makes those people feel safer? No, is the answer to that. Let's be clear, this bill still leaves bail laws weaker than they were before. It's smoke and mirrors designed to give the impression of action while avoiding the hard decisions needed to protect Victorians. And if we're going to talk about some of the hard decisions in smoke and mirrors, the machete program with bins, those carrying machetes, I'm sure, are very law-abiding citizens and will obviously take them back to those very expensive bins. Again, where is someone going, why are these bins $350,000 for a bin? Which is just, where is anyone asking questions around this? Well, it'd be interesting to see who got the contract for that, honestly, because it will be even more interesting to see, Acting Speaker, when that program does eventually commence, how many machetes are actually collected. It would be very interesting to see, and then put a return on investment figure next to that, which should be common practice, you would think. Now, we have heard about, or the member for Laverton said that she hadn't heard this side talk about our policy around break bail face jail. And I think every member that's contributed on this bill so far has referenced it. And you know, we urge the government to at least have a look at the bill that was presented and that policy to reinstate commit indictable offence on jail as a Schedule 2 offence, so bail is harder to get. Reinstate breach bail without reasonable excuse as a Schedule 2 offence, so breaches actually have consequences. Because if there are consequences for your actions, that is a deterrent to change your actions, one would think. Remove the youth-free pass for breaching bail, and we heard the member for Morwell talk about the consequences of those that are put through the rinse and repeat, which is what Victoria Police call the judicial system, particularly with youth offenders at the moment. It is a rinse and repeat in through the police station, out through the courts, straight back onto the street. And we heard the member for Morwell, and we do often in this place, talk about the consequences that have occurred for the Gordon family. And I know that this is a very strong passion point for the member for Morwell, and he has really embedded himself within the Gordon family and is desperate to help. And we heard during his contribution how even the Gordon family, even the member for Morwell, who is, like I said, very embedded in this issue, this falls, it's still as if the government is not listening and will present bills such as this to get a media release out of and a media conference out of, but not actually have any consequences. Also, I did just want to touch on quickly, Acting Speaker, the start date. The community can't wait another 7 months for this. We can't wait until the 31st of March 2026, but that's what this bill is actually doing with the delayed commencement date. 7 more months of risks and 7 more months of repeat offending. So, of course, we support on this side of the House the reasoned amendment from the member for Malvern that all the words after that be omitted and replaced with the words, "This House refuses to read this bill a second time until the Allen Labor government, A, urgently provides Victoria Police and Corrections Victoria with all resources necessary to implement this bill without further delay, and B, adopts the Liberal and National Party's break bail face jail policy to ensure that Victoria's bail laws do not continue to fail to protect community safety." And while we are talking about Victoria Police, I have heard again, the member for Ripon during her contribution said that she had spoken to Victoria Police members in St Arnaud that had said that they have never been better resourced. Well, in communities surrounding, and I do neighbour the electorate of Ripon, and in communities surrounding and stations, if in fact there is a Victoria Police member in some of those small towns, they are saying quite the contrary, and I speak to them on a weekly basis. There are single member stations that are not resourced at all. There are over 50 vacancies in Mildura. They no longer have the embedded mental health clinicians in the station to support the Victoria Police members that are there. And while this government talks about how much they've invested in recruitment, how much are they investing in retaining those police officers that have 10, 20, 30, even 40 years of experience? And, you just cannot replace that kind of, you can't recruit that kind of experience. Acting Speaker, it's just some of the things, honestly, that we hear come from the other side when it is in complete contradiction to what I'm sure all members on this side of the House interacting with their Victoria Police members and community members are hearing on a daily basis is just mind-boggling. And it's just another example of an Allen Labor government that just refuses to listen to the community and refuses to do anything about it. If they were actually interacting with Victoria Police, they would know that's not the case. And if they were actually interacting with members of their community and victims of crime and those that are too scared to walk to the post office in the middle of the day, they would fully understand that this is simply not enough.